Hello, good evening. It's Dr. Margaret here, and we are live for our session this evening, all about why self-care is the new love. This week is Valentine's week, and whilst I do struggle with all the kind of prescribed behaviors that seem to go with it and all the marketing, but actually, isn't it great to have a day that's focused on love? And I would like to include in that not just love for other people, but love for ourselves, self-compassion, self-care, self-nurture, all these things. They are super important for gorgeous health. And so that's why I've chosen to focus on this topic this evening. So Anne has just joined me live. Hi, Anne, how are you doing? It's great. So I'm really excited that we're going to have a live session on this. I'm really hoping that, those of you who are able to join me live will kind of, help me have the conversation and help have a good chat about all of this, because it is incredibly important, as I'm hoping to be able to show you as we go on this evening. So as usual, Facebook is going to take a few minutes just to kind of send out the notification to say that we have gone live. So it may be that people join as we go on. So do pop in if you're here live with us. Just come and say hello and let me know how you are. Let me know what you feel about the topic for this evening. Are you excited about it? Does it appeal to you? Does it apply to you? Are you already acing self-care and self-love? Maybe you are. So it's really great. But as I say, I think it's a topic that's very close to my heart. And I have to confess that, I'm now 51, and it took me a long time to crack this nut. And I still don't always get it right. So as I am, great thanks. Had my first appraisal at my new job today and decided to appreciate myself more. Fabulous, darling. That's so important, isn't it? Because we are so good at spotting where we're not perhaps perfect, or where we're not quite rocking it the way that we think we ought to be, and we set our barriers so very high. And actually the truth is that often, most of the time, we're actually being really great and really amazing, and sometimes I don't think we really realize that and give ourselves credit for it. So, and it's a great source of self-love to be able to kind of go, yeah, I'm doing all right, that's fine. So Jackie's just joined us. Hi Jackie, gorgeous you could make the live, darling. So so as I say, just whilst Facebook is kind of taking a few minutes just to kind of, let everybody know, like, hello, we are actually going live. That would be great. So Kate's just joined. Hi, Kate. So come in and say hello. If you are watching this on the replay, you are totally welcome to say hello, put questions in, put comments into the chat box, just as you would as if you were watching this live, but just put #replay. So I know that you're on the replay, so I don't kind of, mix things up a bit. So before we get going with the nuggets of this session, I just wanted to make a couple of little announcements again, whilst we're just waiting for Facebook to let everybody know that we're live. So later this month, in fact on the Monday the 25th of February, we are going to be starting a gorgeous 5-day hydration challenge. Now, for those of you who know me well and who have worked with me in the past, you will know I am a huge fan of super hydration, because it is simple to do. It has huge benefits for your health, for your energy, for your vitality, like off the scale huge. You wouldn't think that something so simple would have such big effects, but actually the truth is that for a lot of people it really does. So I decided I would offer this challenge out as a live event, and you can join me. I'm literally just going to grab the little kind of thing and pop it into the chat box. So this is the link here. If you would like to join me on that live hydration challenge, that basically puts your name on an email list, so that when we're ready to go, I'll be emailing everybody going, right, we're going, this is what we're going to do this week, and we can really rock it together and really nail this one. Especially this time of year. I think in the summer we tend to be better about hydration. I think the sun and being outside more naturally makes us think about it, but at this time of year not so. And yet actually the truth is, at this time of year when we're, I'm sitting with the radiator right behind me, and we get hot, we get dehydrated, our skin gets dry, anyway, I won't go on and on about it, but suffice it to say, it is going to be a really fun challenge to do. It's just going to be 5 days from Monday to Friday, and it will just give you a beautiful piece of self-care for your health that will have huge benefits. So I would love for you to join me on that one. So the other thing, just a tiny announcement, is that I'm teaming up with the lovely Sarah Jacobs, who is she's a beauty therapist here in Suffolk, and she and I are running a little workshop over in my clinic. Again, that's on Saturday the 23rd of February. So if you are around in Suffolk on that day, or you feel that you might want to be around on Suffolk on that day, you are most welcome to join us, but you do just need to book your ticket beforehand. But it is all about skincare from the outside in and from the inside out. So it's the functional medicine approach to all skin and anti-aging strategies and seasonal skincare. And Sarah is going to be doing the kind of real good basics of how to look after your skin so that it really can, can kind of look beautiful and that natural healthy glow without lots of lotions and potions. We are not plugging any particular products or anything like that. It is literally just really what are the good principles of just looking after your skin so it will look beautiful and fresh and lovely and gorgeous. So that is there as well. Okay, so let's get talking then about the topic for this evening, which is that self-care. I always used to think, when I was younger, I used to think self-care, oh, isn't that a bit boring? Does anybody else remember thinking like that? And it's something I think that sometimes you learn, with the ravages of time, isn't it? That you get, life knocks you around a little bit and you have a few health struggles, and then you suddenly think, oh, that's that health self-care thing that, that I used to think was a bit, and the truth is, I know I was never that great at self-care. I just didn't look after myself that much. I looked after lots of other people, and I looked after my family, I looked after my baby girl, I looked after my patients, I looked after my colleagues, did all of that, but wasn't very good at looking after myself. And I think it is partly, it's just we all live very busy lives. We're always focusing on what can we deliver, what can we give, what can we bring, and we very rarely do kind of the opposite of that, the balancing of that, about what do I need, what do I need to feel my best, to be okay. We just don't tend to ask ourselves that question. Is this ringing any bells for anybody? Oh, Alan's just joined. Hi Alan, gorgeous, you could come, you could attend the session, honey. So is anybody kind of relating to this whole thing of self-care and thinking, yeah, that's exciting, or no, that's like really boring, or I'm not really that interested, or, is it really going to help me? Is it really going to make such a difference? Well, I'm hoping to convince you after the session this evening that the answer to all of those things are yes, it's amazing for your health. Yes, it will absolutely work for you. And yes, it is, the best thing you could ever do and give yourself. So I'm really, Sarah's just saying, hi, honey, hi, lovely. So first of all, who here does self-care, loves self-care, is into self-care, or are you in the kind of camp that needs persuading and you're kind of going, yeah, well, I'm here because I'm kind of interested in what you might have to say. Which kind of side of the fence are you sitting on? Carol, good evening, honey. I'd love to for you to just type into the chat box and go, acing it, or or maybe you're kind of could do with some work. I say, this sounds interesting, not boring, honey. Fantastic, good. Carol saying yes, and Sarah's just joined. Hi Sarah, lovely you could make it, darling. So really I'm hoping that from the session today that you will really get a much deeper sense of just the role that self-care plays, not just in our health, but actually in how we show up in our lives. Because, isn't that what we need our health for at the end of the day? I often ask my clients this, so, you've been sick a long time, and, when we get you better, what do you want your health for? And they often look at me and like, what on earth are you talking about? Like, I just want to stop being sick. And I'm thinking, yeah, I get that. But actually, once we get you well again, what do you want it for? What are you going to do with it? And for a lot of people, this is like this big, oh my God, oh, right, okay. Do you know what? I've stopped thinking about that because I've been so kind of locked down, into this kind of place of struggle and so on. So, self-care, gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. Anna's saying, I'm trying to focus more on it. Alan's saying, hello, Mrs. Hello. So that's good. So, Alan's saying, I'm in the interested camp. Carol's saying I'm trying baby steps. Natasha's just joined. Hi, Natasha, and Karen just joined. Lovely. Karen's just saying I found you. Good evening. Yes, I'm sorry, darling. We kind of have the regular page, and then we've got the closed group, because the closed group, this group here, is kind of, just so that we can go a little bit deeper without feeling like we're on a public page where anyone and everyone can see. And Sarah's saying we all need a reminder on how to self-preserve. I've got embalming fluid in my mind. But maybe that's the medic in me. Okay, so yes, I'm really hoping that kind of we can just connect more deeply to this, because often I think we think, yeah, self-care, yeah, that's a good idea, and I ought to be better about it, but I think we massively underestimate just how powerful this stuff really is and how deep it goes. So the first thing I really wanted to just dive a bit more deeply into is, why is self-care so important for your health, for your well-being, for your energy, for your sense of joy in life? And when I was thinking about this earlier on today, and I was thinking, how can I kind of explain this in a way that really kind of makes sense? Is that self-care is a lot more than just looking after yourself. Just looking after yourself, kind of making sure that you eat and you have a shower every day and you had a good night's sleep, all that kind of stuff. That is also self-care, but self-care is actually a lot more than that. It is about taking notice of what is important to you, what matters to you. It's about that, learning to listen inside ourselves, that little voice that we are so good at ignoring, the little voice that's telling you, actually, do you know what? I really hate this job. Do you know what? This relationship is sucking the life out of me. Do you know what? All those little, I'm not really living the life I want to, all that kind of voice, that is also self-care, that is, and we tend to ignore that stuff. We just go, well, that's never going to happen, or that's a pipe dream, forget it. But all that stuff is self-care. Self-care is about getting much closer to yourself, to what really lights you up, what really noticing what your heart is asking for in life. Because if we, so that's the first thing. Today's Anne's just joined us. Hi, Anne. That's the first thing. So it's noticing kind of what's going on inside our being, both what your heart is calling out, what your kind of what your head, your intelligence, but all, and the listening to that, and not just wiping it away, wiping it off the face of the earth, and dismissing it. So what I decided to do is to look at why self-care is so important for health, is to look at the basics, then probably a little more of the advanced stuff, and then the mega advanced stuff. Okay, so the basics are things like making sure that you get a good night's sleep, and how do you protect that, and how do you look after that stuff? Making sure that you eat well, so that you eat for optimum energy, that you eat for well-being, that you eat an anti-inflammatory diet, that you eat for good health, and I'm not talking about, diets and losing weight. I'm talking about eating for well-being, which is a very different thing. Exercising regularly, those kinds of things are self-care. And I think, most of us probably kind of get that, that is kind of like a good thing, a good piece of self-care. So Mandy's just joined. Hi, Mandy. And Carol's saying, I'm trying intermittent fasting. Okay, that's going at some. So Ryan's just joined. Hi, Ryan. And Carol's saying gut feeling. Yeah. So the basics of self-care are those very kind of physical things. The food you put in your mouth, how you hydrate yourself, how you look after your sleep, how you look after yourself in those really basic kind of pieces. When I was at medical school, we learned about the triangle of human needs, Maslow's triangle, and it started off, at the bottom, we need safety, we need a roof over our head, we need to be not in a state of fear, we need to have enough food, shelter, all that kind of thing. And then later on, as you go up the pyramid, the things that we need are more sophisticated things, like we need meaningful connections to other people. We need to feel like our life serves a purpose. We need to feel like we can, work creatively. But these are not the essentials, these are not essential for survival, but they are part of our health and well-being. Does that sort of make sense? So the basics are like, the bottom line of the Maslow's hierarchy, if you like. The triangle is the sleep, the shelter, the food, making sure you exercise regularly, all those kind of real basic kind of good health pieces that we all sort of know. Then there's the next layer up, which I was going to call the advanced stuff of self-care. So this is about handling your stress. last week we did a huge session all about how do you build your resiliency. Yeah, but this is stuff that you go, yeah, that's fluff, that's woo-woo, but actually it's not. How you handle your stress, how you deal with the kind of the tuss and tuggle of life, this has massive impact on your health and well-being, and it begins with self-care. Avoiding overwhelm, avoiding stacking your plate so high that you can't possibly deal with everything that's sitting on it, and you just can't attend to anything in a kind of present sort of way. That is self-care. So this is the advanced stuff, stress, avoiding overwhelm, kind of making sure that the envelope of every day is a manageable kind of amount. And then there's the mega advanced stuff. So we're right at the top of our pyramid here, of our Maslow's hierarchy, which is to do with our higher functioning. So this is to do with our mindsets around, amazing self-care has is supported by a mindset of, yes, I'm absolutely worth it. Yes, I absolutely deserve this. I really love myself. I really love taking care of myself. Those kind of mindsets, that's top of the pyramid stuff. The next thing is, what is your life for? And are you actually getting around to any of those things? I mean, how many people on the call here right now? So just saying hello to a few people. So Tina's just joined, Barbara's joined, hello, Awart has joined, hello. Carol's saying, I'm taking your advice on drinking. And oh my goodness, new job, fantastic. Awart saying, only got here now. That's fine, Awart, don't worry. So we were just talking about Maslow's hierarchy and the kind of, why is self-care so important for health and well-being? And we talked about the idea that there's a kind of a baseline level of things like the food and the sleep and the kind of hydration and the exercise and that kind of real self-care, like looking after yourself, like looking after our physical container. But then there's a higher level, which is about how we handle stress, how we handle our relationships. And then there's an even higher level, which is to do with our calling in life, what your life is for, what is your health for, what purpose do you want to live, and living a life of fulfillment and inspired living, so that we show up as our fullest self. I've said many, many times before that, this is kind of, we're going to sort of draw this line, if you like. You can tell I'm a visual person, can't you? I'm doing triangles and lines and all this kind of stuff. But suffice it to say that, we can go from, if we're here and this is kind of like our health is fine, we can go this way and get sick, and get sicker and sicker and sicker, and that's chronic illness or acute illness or whatever, but we're going down here. But if we want to go from here the other way, there is actually not just not sick, there is actually ultra wellness, there's like ultra health, beautiful well-being. And even if we have got chronic ill health, we can still grab bits of that. It doesn't mean you're stuck on this part of the scale. So it's about really expanding what we're looking at here. What are we trying to achieve here? Our health is not just to avoid being sick. It is actually to be our very best selves and really live the life that we're meant to live. So it goes much further than just, making sure you eat your greens. Okay. So everyone's saying hello. Corinne has joined. Hi, Corinne. Tina's just hello. Just made it. Gorgeous to see you. And Emma has just joined as well. Gorgeous to see you, Emma. So why, the self-care, the pyramid, the basics, the kind of more advanced level and the super advanced level. And so it's also all about being who you really are. And that means being fully expressed in life, doing and saying and acting and connecting to people and showing up in your communities in a way that is true for you. Whereas a lot of us, we tend to sort of hold back, we kind of play it small, we're more defensive. Whereas if you're looking at ultra health, we're looking more at this kind of stuff. And self-care underpins all of that. And I'm hoping to show you why in just a moment. So, if we took excellent care of the basics, so we've kind of looked after our food and our hydration and we're exercising regularly and we're protecting our sleep, this is the kind of work that we do in Such a Sugar Live Your Life. Then you come on to the next more advanced level and you look at the stress stuff, you look at your connections, and then you look at the mega advanced level and you kind of start asking yourself, okay, where's my inspiration? What's my passion? What's my life about? What's it for? How do I want to serve my communities? How do I want to show up in this lifetime? And really ask yourself those questions really quite seriously, because that's what incredible health is really all about. So, but the truth is that for a lot of us, that self-care kind of stays on the back burner. It tends to get sort of pushed to the bottom of the list of priorities, and usually it is something happens to us in life that actually forces us to kind of start taking this stuff seriously. Because and in a way, you sometimes hear people say, oh, I got really sick and this and that and the other happened to me. And actually it was the greatest gift that I ever had. You know, and you hear people talk about their illness or their, an experience that they had being that on the surface of it would look like a setback, but that people kind of actually go, oh, that, do you know what, that was a great experience. But the thing that they need, one of the things that they nearly always learn in that process is self-care, like ultra self-care, like you have never done before. Okay, because this is what it takes to recover, but also it actually is also what it takes to live a life of amazing health and wellness and well-being. Okay, so we're going quite deep tonight, aren't we? So Katie has just joined. Hi, Katie. So I just wanted to have a look, you know, why can it be so hard to really practice good self-care consistently? You know, what gets in the way? What tends to stop us? And by the way, if anything I'm saying is making things come up for you, or you want to say something about it, feel free to type in the chat box. You know, it's very much a conversation, just exploring ideas. You know, there's no rights or wrongs with any of this stuff. It's just lovely just to kind of be able to, you know, I'm enjoying sharing with you some of my thoughts and you know, the way that I tend to work with my clients is all part of this. But actually, you know, I'm really passionate about this idea that, you know, we want our health so that we can really show up as the people that we really are, without needing to hold back because, you know, ill health is stopping you from shining your light. Ultimately, that is what it boils down to. So Arad is saying we're all brought up not to be selfish, and we always put everyone else and work first. After several burnouts and after serious health issues, now in later life, I have learned that self-care and self-love is so important. Although it's almost too late. Well, I'm sure it is not too late. And actually, that is so gorgeous to hear. And I can absolutely echo those words. You know, sometimes it takes a burnout, or it takes, you know, a health diagnosis to make us stop and think, oh my God. And for some of us, you know, we're so, you know, anyway, you absolutely put your finger on it, that, you know, we're kind of brought up, you know, in our culture, it is prized to really, you know, work really hard at the expense almost of yourself, you know, to really push into things and really deliver on things. So our cultural inheritance, what we think are the expectations that sit on us and that we try to then deliver in our lives. And the thing is, you know, we've not done anything wrong by doing that, but actually it does take a toll on our health. And we're not encouraged, we're not taught from a young age to kind of find some kind of balance where you kind of, there's this, yes, we want to work hard, yes, we want to deliver amazing things, but we also want to just be able to check in with ourselves and notice what's going on. And the two of them, if they then can start to do that dance, then we get to sort of a more sustainable situation. And anyway, 100% hear you, because I have done exactly the same as you, and I know I've shared my story on here before. But for those of you who are new to me, just to say very briefly that so I had years and years. I was single mum. I lived in a country where I didn't have any family around, which was not the best of ideas. If I could do my time over, I probably wouldn't do any of this. But hey, I was you know, being an NHS GP, it was crazily stressful, and you know, lots and lots of other things. And then we had, you know, one of those years where everything hits you all at once. My daughter was diagnosed with some issues that really, you know, shook the ground I was sitting on. Then I had a big relationship breakup. Then I changed jobs, and oh my goodness, you know, and it became this year of a perfect storm where everything just kind of fell down. I basically ended up with really severe fatigue and horrible depression, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, quite frankly. And you know, it took me a year to climb out of that little lot, and it's the year that I discovered functional medicine, because that's what it needed for me to recover. So in a very brief nutshell. So yeah, anyway, I absolutely 100% hear you, and I totally can relate to that experience, absolutely. And Carol is saying, I love myself immensely. Yay! I love it when I hear people say that. I really love myself. Just need more confidence. Well, they're kind of the same thing. Okay, so, and Carol saying, my counselor told me I'm never too old. So true. I was saying, don't have regrets because your life so far has made you who you are now, Margaret. Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And it is the life, the journey that we all travel, isn't it? So that is good. So what gets in the way of our self-care? So again, I've just kind of made a few notes that I thought might just help kind of. So the first big one, the one that people often say to me, if I start saying, if I'm working with somebody and I go, okay, fine, we need you to kind of, I don't know, I might be asking them to do something really simple, like I just need you to get outside for 20 minutes a day and get some actual daylight into your eyes. And those of you who've heard me talk before about adrenal fatigue, you'll know why I'm saying that. But a simple thing like that, and they go, oh no, I can't do that. I haven't got time to do that. And you go, okay. So this lack of time, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to cook healthy meals. I don't have time to plan healthy meals. I don't have time, to rest. I don't have time to ease up. This kind of incredible pressure, and Ewout already spoke about it beautifully, but this incredible pressure that we all put on ourselves, that we end up with too much heaped on our plate, too much to fit into one day, and we end up like the little hamster on the hamster wheel, just racing around trying to do it all because we think it is the right thing to do. And nothing wrong with being busy, and nothing wrong with really committing to things, but if it's at the expense of any of the balance, so for example, if we have a busy, intense period, the self-care, where the self-care comes into that is like, okay, where am I going to plan in some ease? Yeah, because you can't do up here all the time and not do some down here, because the body it loses its balance. It can't do it. So Karen is saying, I'm on the path to loving myself and I have confidence with mask on, but not in reality. Yeah, but Karen, that is absolutely the place to start. And Carol was also just saying this idea that to actually be able to just look in the mirror and say, do you know what? I really love you. Like, I really, really love you. That, and to then not feel like you're being ridiculous, to not feel like, oh, well, I'm just saying that because I'm supposed to, because the exercise is telling me that I'm supposed to. But to actually really mean it, like the way you would look at a child, or, at your pet, or at your other half, or, to really actually let yourself feel that love. And I always think that, I'm digressing, but that's okay. I always think that confidence is a funny thing, isn't it? I think confidence comes from having a strong purpose of what your life is for, and focusing on that. Because I think once you can do that, it starts to pull you through. Whereas, there's always fears, there's always lack of confidence, there's always doubt about, oh my God, can I actually do this? That's normal, because every time we cross a threshold of any kind in life, we're faced with an unknown, we're faced with the possibility that we might fail, we're faced with the fear of, like, God, I might make a total mess of this. But that's fine, yeah. And Karen is saying, Awad is saying, replying to Karen, saying, keep on that path, Karen, the confidence will come when you're not looking for it. Absolutely. So Shahida has just joined us. Hello, Shahida. Gorgeous. You could make it. Fantastic. So we're just looking at the things that are going to get in the way of self-care. And why is it so hard? What gets in the way? So the first thing is time, and sometimes it's because we overcommit ourselves. Sometimes we don't have much time because actually underneath it all, it's the people-pleasing approach to life that gets us into trouble. So, and what I mean by being a people pleaser is being always the first one to put your hands in and go, oh, I'll help you with that. Without first checking in with yourself, have I actually got time and energy to do that? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with offering to help someone, but if it's at the expense of you then having time to do what you need to do, or just time for yourself, that's also important. That people pleasing, that over giving, over delivering, being too keen too quickly, volunteering without thinking, so there's nothing wrong with any of these things, don't get me wrong, but it's doing it without any thought to your own needs. That's where the kind of the balance can tip up. Being a yes person, a yes girl or a yes boy, always being the person who likes to say yes and please other people and show up as a willing kind of team player. And of course we all have that, because we to some degree, because that's how we how we're brought up, isn't it? To kind of, we want to please our mum and our dad because then they're going to give us attention and love and care and look after us and keep us safe. You know, we're kind of almost programmed to be people pleasing. But the thing of where self-care comes in is that we need to just check in with ourselves first before we give all the goods away. So I'm just reading the comments. So Carol's saying, I'm proud of myself, managed to keep clean the fridge. And Rob is saying, yes, Awad, you're right, Karen, it will come to you. I lost mine, but I'm so much better now. Wonderful, wonderful. And Carol's saying, I'll get more when I go volunteering. Yeah, volunteering is a great one. So good. So being a people pleaser, being crap at boundaries. Okay, like it is fine. You know, this is about being able to say yes, being able to say no when you mean yes. It's about being able to say not now, but maybe later. It's about being able to say, actually, I need ... Those kind of boundaries, you know, and just allowing other people's stuff and other people's needs, whether it's our job or our family or our children, for them to take up everything we've got and leave nothing for yourself. That's what I'm talking about. So, and just doing too much for other people, you know, for your job, for your community, for your family, for your children, just over delivering. Emma is saying confidence and self-love also comes with having boundaries and knowing what you will and won't put up from people, protecting your peace. Now that is a beautiful, beautiful way of putting it, Emma. I love that, protecting your peace. That is gorgeous. Absolutely. And Awad is saying, yeah, you're right, Mahid, you can stop yourself from being a yes person without being a no person. I always used to say, I'll think about it and sleep on it and then decide whether to say yes, but also have the courage to say no. If we go down, we can't help anyone. Absolutely. Yeah. So it is okay not to give away everything that you have to give. Just because you've got it to give doesn't mean to say you have to give it. Yeah. There's that one kind of, the Preeti's just joined us. Hi, Preeti. You're very welcome, darling. So, you know, so this idea of time, you know, saying that you haven't got time, feeling like there's not enough hours in the day, start having a look. You know, if you're somebody who goes, look, you know, I haven't got time to look after my meals, I haven't got time to go shopping, I haven't got time to cook healthy stuff, I haven't got time to even sleep enough. You know, I have literally worked with clients who tell me, I don't have time to sleep more than 6 hours a night. And I'm going, oh my God, your poor adrenal glands. Because the truth is most of us do need more than that, you know, but we do it because we convince ourselves that this is what it looks like to be a good person who contributes, who works hard, and this is what society teaches us to value. But actually what society doesn't teach us to value is the care for ourselves, the self-nurture, and it is just as important. In fact, without it, you know, our health is really up the spout, quite frankly. So the time thing, yeah, so that's a real big kind of barrier to self-care for a lot of people. But just have a look to see, you know, get a little bit more kind of nuanced and go, okay, why don't I have time? Is it because I give all my time away to other people? Is it because I over deliver? Is it because I say yes when I should say no? Or is it because I'm making choices that have always put other people's needs in front of my own? You know, and again, I don't know if anyone here comes from a background, but I know in my family, I can literally remember my mom saying to me, you know, always think about other people's needs before your own. Like, this is a prized quality. You know, this is something to be encouraged in your children. My mom came from a sort of big Catholic Dutch family, you know, and this is what they were taught and this is what they aspired to. And it's what she taught me. Hi, Pretty. Lovely to see you. You know, this idea that put other people's needs before your own, and, you know, at your peril, quite frankly. And again, as I've already said, it doesn't mean that you don't have to listen to other people's needs or take notice of other people's needs. It's not all one thing, but it's not all the other either, you know. So the attitude, the mindset is the second thing that often gets in the way of gorgeous self-care. And the big one, and I think, Awad, was it you who talked about this? Someone already mentioned this, I can't quite remember who it was, but that, you know, it's being selfish. If you spend time on yourself, if you spend time nurturing when you could be spending that time for someone else, if you don't go all in your job and you hold some of it back because you need to in order to make sure that your own health stays okay. All those things, that's considered to be selfish, egocentric, self-serving, greedy, not a team player. All these phrases. Is this ringing any bells for anyone? And Carol was saying, I was the rock in my family, but I broke. Yeah, so Carol, so this is a gorgeous example of on a very much on an emotional level where people are always coming to you and dumping their stuff on you. But if there's no boundaries in place, nowhere where you do your emotional repair, where you get nurtured, where your cup gets filled, then actually we end up giving from an empty place. Carer fatigue, I think, is the proper phrase for it. And I think lots of people in the image have carer fatigue. And Anne, are you still with me on this call? Would you agree with me? So Anne Smeaton, who is she I know she's a fellow professional. So the first thing that gets in the way is time. But just unpick that a little bit and go, okay, where is the time actually going? Am I, prioritizing things correctly? What are my choices that I'm making? Where am I perhaps people pleasing so much that actually that's getting me into trouble and it's meaning I've got no time for me. The second one is the mindset, and the big one in mindset is, to self-care is selfish. Okay. The other mindset is I don't deserve it, or it's too late for me. Okay, now it's never too late, as Carol said earlier. You're never too old, and Ewout, it's not too late. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's not too late. So, okay, so it's all about being who you truly are versus what other people expect you to be. Yeah. So there's lots more we could talk about, but I'm just wanting to kind of make sure that we get to. So the third thing that gets in the way for people to practice self-care is actually we're just not sure what to do. Okay, where do you even start? If you're somebody who's listening to this call and you're perhaps struggling with, say, fatigue or chronic depression or chronic pain of some kind or just chronic ill health, that means you just can't, where do you start? Self-care is there. That's lovely, Marguerite, but where do we start? Because the truth is that out there's a ton of information about, if you want to eat healthily, do this. If you want to exercise, do blah de blah. There's so much stuff out there. Like, where do you start? And what do you do first? What's the most important thing? Where's a good place to start? And how do you plan your journey through into self-care? So the thing that I'm often saying to the clients that I work with, it's about, people say, oh, start with the most important thing. And I go, no, start with the easiest thing. Yeah, which one of these things that we, these self-care areas that we've identified that are going to help your health, whether that's an aspect of nutrition, or whether it's how we're going to handle your stress, or how we're going to balance up your stress response, your autonomic nervous system. Where do we even start with all of that? Start with something that's simple to do, to kind of just start to get into the way of that self-care, that way of, because at the minute we start to put self-care into place, we have to start, you will find there comes a point where you have to say no to something else in order to make room for that thing. And that's when you get tested, isn't it? Because that's when you have to go, okay, which one is more important, that I stick to this? I think, Carol, I hope you don't mind me saying, but I know you shared last week on the call about having to say no to looking after your grandchildren. And and that it was really, really hard, and it is really hard, but actually it's important. It's your self-care about protecting your own boundaries and your limits. We are not made of elastic. We don't stretch to infinity, because actually if you try to stretch yourself to infinity, you'll snap. So I'm just so Ava is sending this smiley face, lovely. And I'm just catching up with a few of the comments. Sorry if I'm looking like I'm doing this. Cool. And Karen saying, I took 3 hours off work today and went and had an aromatherapy massage. Been so stressed lately, going to sleep well tonight. Oh, that sounds gorgeous. Make sure you drink lots, honey. Helen O'Hara's just joined. Hi, Helen. Gorgeous to see you. And Carol's saying breathing. Yeah, breathing is a great self-care practice. And sometimes, just to get into the way of things, it's easier to start off with really simple things that you can just do that aren't too difficult, that are easy to weave in. Just so you start building the habits around actually time for yourself, a focused activity that you want to start doing consistently to help particular aspects of your health and well-being. So really, really important. And the fourth barrier that I often hear from people is, will it work? If I start doing all this self-care, if I start doing this hydration that you're telling me to do, and if I start doing all this food stuff that you're telling me to do, Marguerite, and if I start handling my stress the way we've talked about, and blah blah blah, all these different areas, if I start doing this, will it actually work? Okay, and I can see it on people's faces. They probably wouldn't say it to my face, but I can see. That, because the truth is that it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment, and we've already said it puts us square up against those mindsets about, oh God, do I deserve it? Can I say yes to myself and no to someone else, or no to something else, or where does the balance lie? Because as we start to walk the talk, we start to come up against these things. What do I give priority to? Going out for a night, or do I kind of go, no, actually I've already promised myself I'm going to have a night in, or an early night, or get some extra sleep, or whatever the thing is. So it's about, so not sure what to do, where do I start, and will it even work? If I was going to do all these things, will it even work? Well, I can tell you from personal experience and also from professional experience that yes, it does. It does. It's very exciting, and how quite a lot of really quite simple things can have huge benefits to our health. So the big question really is, when are we going to start to kind of really seriously look after ourselves in this way? When are we going to start really investing in ourselves in this way? Because this is what this is. It's a commitment to yourself to kind of up the self-care and taking small but powerful action. Yeah, this is the thing, because if we don't, the price we pay in terms of our health is huge. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit. So is everyone all right so far? So Rachel's just joined. Hi Rachel, lovely to meet you. I don't think we've met before. And Carol is saying painting. Everyone is saying painting is so therapeutic. I do it every day. Yeah, it's wonderful. And also painting is I'm also a painter, and it's a wonderful way to connect to inner self. And I think that's, for me, that's the power of it, actually. Never mind the slushy messes that I produce sometimes, but yeah, it's that connection to self, that connection to kind of your imagination, your own inner kind of way of looking at the world. And Carol saying, I missed a holiday because I had to take care of me. Well, good for you, Carol. Sometimes we just have to say no to things, even if they've been planned a long way in advance, because way back when we were making the plans, we possibly didn't know that, we weren't going to be up for it. So the price we pay for ignoring self-care. Now this, I wasn't sure whether to talk about this because it might bring us all down a little bit. So I'm going to go through it really quickly. So just so you get a sense of it, because this is kind of really where it really hits home just how important self-care is. So we've talked about levels of basic self-care like food, nutrition, exercise, sleep, but then we've also talked that there's a kind of more advanced self-care, which is how we show up in our relationships, how we handle stress. And then there's the super self-care, which is around the vision that we hold for our life, the passions with which we kind of color our lives, and these things are all part of self-care. So the price that we pay if we ignore those needs that we all have, first of all, our energy suffers, our health suffers. We're not as energetic if we are lacking in fitness, eating crap, burning the candle at both ends, not really looking after our sleeves, out all hours. We're just not as healthy and as vibrant and as dynamic and as productive as if we looked after ourselves a bit more. The other big thing about not looking after yourself well is that you start to lose the joy. Life starts to lose its color because we get into overwhelm, we get into overload, and we start to lose the pleasure. Life starts to lose its color. and we start to lose motivation, and with that we start to lose vitality, because vitality really is that combination. It is a physical wellness, but also mental, emotional, spiritual wellness. That's what gives you your vitality. It's not all physical amazingness. It is also the emotional, mental, spiritual amazingness, and it's all those things together. That's what gives you your vitality. So the price we pay for self-care, so our health suffers. The second thing is that we start to live a life that other people need us to live. Okay, so the price you pay for ignoring your self-care, for ignoring the voice in your head, the heart's desires about what is really for you, is that you start to live a life that is what other people need you to do, not what you need you to do. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, is the people pleasing, it's the not sticking up for ourselves, it's the living your role, your job. So, you know, again, for those of you already know my story, but you know, I spent years pouring myself into being an amazing mum and a really good GP and being ultra professional, and you know, and when my house of cards came crashing down around my ears, what I really had to face, one of the things I really had to face about myself, is that I had been playing out all these roles, and it actually wasn't who I really was. You know, I was being a good doctor and a good mum, and I was acting out the role of those things, and it's what I thought was the right thing to do. But actually, as it turns out, you know, it's much more powerful to live more true to who you really are. So, you know, and just to tell you a thing about that is that I recently had a client who actually literally made me cry, because you know, this was a price that she was paying for her lack of self-care. Exactly this thing. She said, I feel like my children have the mother they need, my husband has the wife he needs. He said, at work my colleagues get the colleague they need. She said, but I just don't feel like me, and I feel like I have lost myself, and actually I've given up that in this lifetime I will actually live who I am meant to be. And that is literally, I feel slightly choked up even saying it. Actually, she'd got to the age of, I think she was in her late 50s at this point, and she literally said, you know, I've given up for me to try and be myself in this lifetime. It'll have to wait to the next lifetime, because she was so invested in being what other people needed her to be, and her self-care, her little voice about what do I really love, what do I really need, had just been sent into, you know, far away into outer space, and it just wasn't even getting a look in. So Kathy's just joined. Hi, Kathy. So you know, that's one of the prices that we pay for ignoring our self-care, and leading on to that, actually the price we then pay is that we actually start to live inauthentically. Okay, because we're not living who we truly are, and it means we're not being true to ourselves. So we're living inauthentically, and that means, you know, for those of you who watched the call last week, we lose our resilience. You know, we lose our robustness, because we no longer, when we're true to who we really are, there's like a core strength that shows up in how we live our life, and in our health, and our well-being, and in our energy. And if we lose that authenticity of this is who I really am, and we're always giving our time away to other people, and you know, acting out these roles that we expect other people to be, but we're not doing that, living from our center, we actually end up losing our power. You know, living inauthentically means you lose your power in life, and losing your power, you know, is one of the biggest energy drains going, and it has a huge impact on emotional health, mental health, but also physical health, actually. And there's also the idea about living with integrity comes into here. You know, in when I was learning how to sort of set up my business and so on, I you know, I joined various groups, and there was in business training, they kind of talk about, you know, plan your work and work your plan. Yeah, so it's that integrity, isn't it? About plan it out, do what you say you're going to do, commit to it, go into it with full passion and a vision for where you're trying to go. So lovely. But you could say the same for our health. Yeah, and it doesn't wrap itself up into quite such a neat saying like, plan your work and work your plan, but plan your health, and 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 self-care your plan. That's where the self-care comes in. Because and so the other price that we pay for ignoring self-care is that ultimately our well-being goes down the tube. We might even get sick, and actually life is unfulfilled. We're not living our authentic kind of powerful selves, and we're not expressing who we really are. And so the price that other people pay for is that they don't get to benefit from our gorgeousness either. So it's not a great thing to ignore your self-care. So some self-care practices. So how are we all doing? I'm conscious I'm doing lots of talking. We've gone quite deep actually in this session. It wasn't quite my plan, but it's so some self-care practices. So we've already talked about the idea that self-care comes at different levels, and we can self-care at that kind of physical level, at that baseline level, where it's about how we eat, how we drink, how we look after our sleep, how we move, how we exercise, how we breathe, those kinds of self-care practices, how we look after our kind of physical container, if you like. And then there are self-care practices that are kind of addressing those higher needs, that Maslow's hierarchy that we talked about. So, and they're all important. But I think, if I was going to say to somebody, look, how do you get started with self-care practices? Start with something simple and something physically really tangible to kind of start, practicing what it's like to show up for something that you want, need, will benefit from, and what then happens if you kind of come up against the conflict in that, if someone else needs you to do something and you have to say no because actually you've decided you're going to do the self-care thing, how do you handle those things, and what mindsets do you then come up against? Because sometimes it's hard to know what mindsets we do hold until we're actually tested on these things. So Carol's saying, I make lists, to-do lists, and feel amazing when they come together. Yeah, that's a great one. So that's planning, isn't it? It's sort of plan, setting it all out and making a plan and deciding. And actually the amazing kind of, pleasure we feel when we've really done what we said we were going to do. It's about, looking after your health with integrity, isn't it? Yeah, because it's all very easy to go, oh yeah, wouldn't it be nice if I was a bit fitter? Wouldn't it be nice if, I had more energy? Wouldn't it be nice if I could just, sort out my autoimmune disease? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, yeah, of course it would be nice. We'd lovely. We all want to be well. But the truth is that it takes commitment to self-care to do these things. So self-care. So start simple and start small. Okay. And so you could start with around a food thing or a drink thing, so that, as I already said to you all at the beginning, and we are going to be holding a little super hydration challenge starting on Monday the 25th of February, and I'm just going to grab the little link, and if you would like to join me for that lovely self-care challenge, just to really max out a simple thing that you could do consistently and well and really start seeing results with, that one is a really good one. So there's the link there, and that just takes you onto an email list, and then when we get to the just before the 25th, I'll be emailing out to everybody going, right, this is what we're going to do, this is the plan. But basically we're going to be traveling together for 5 days, so Monday to Friday, and just practicing that self-care, and talking together about what comes up when you can't do it, or what gets in the way, or what's going to stop you, so that you can start to see what it's going to take to start doing this kind of health care well-being work for yourself. So you're all really, really welcome to join me on that one. So but start simple, start small, pick one thing that's easy and go for it. Make a plan, make a list, like Carol said, but just plan it out, how you're going to do it, so that you can actually see, and plan the steps. So the second thing is plan. This is the integrity. So it's prioritizing. It's asking yourself, what is the most important thing that I could start with? Sometimes we're faced with so many things that we think, oh yeah, I need to do this, I need to do that, and the other. And you go, okay, but you've got to start where you are. So which one thing could you start with tomorrow? And there's always something that we can start to move out. So because as we start to take action, we start to move ourselves out of that stuck place and not doing the work. Ask yourself, do I need any support with this? you don't have to do it all by yourself. You know, there are plenty of opportunities for support, either joining groups of things, or, you know, you could join a local, a kind of, you know, depending on what your self-care area is, you could put out a call on your Facebook friends and go, look, I'm thinking of this, would anybody give me a hand? You don't have to do these things on your own. Or, you know, you could come and work with someone like me if you wanted to. It's all fine. Pretty saying, thank you, Mahid, we'll have to take my son to his piano lesson now. Fantastic. Thanks for coming, Pretty, really appreciate it. And Carol saying, yeah, write a journal. So writing a journal is a really gorgeous practice. So that's beautiful. So that will help you plan, actually, writing the journal, because it's a space just to kind of work out what the possibilities are of things, isn't it? So that's the first thing. So self-care, start with simple and small, show up consistently. And if you want to have a practice run at that, come and join us for the hydration challenge. This next thing is about planning, about prioritizing. What help do I need? Getting yourself armed up with what you're going to need to do to be able to make this thing kind of happen. And then the third thing is to get active about the vision for your life. And this is more kind of the higher kind of self-care pieces. But it starts really with, you know, if you said to me, look, how do I start to connect to the vision of my life? And again, you know, this is some of the work that we started to do in my online program, the sooooo program. We did it in the very first week, actually. And most people were like, oh my goodness, I thought I was coming on here to talk about, you know, giving up sugar. And here we are talking about the vision of my life. But it's important because you don't just create the vision for your life. You know, like that. It doesn't come falling out the sky. Well, for most of it doesn't. It starts with, there are steps to do. You start off with noticing things that you really love, things that really speak to you, things that you really resonate with. And then kind of listening to those things without judging it. You know, so for example, if you start to notice, I know some of you who are on the call have done my sugar program. So yeah, you might sort of, you know, recognize this, but it's this idea about, you know, really listening to it without judging it, without kind of, you know, the minute your little voice comes in and going, oh, I'd really love to do such and such, and then, you know, your logical brain's going, yeah, but you don't have the money for that, or you don't have time for that, or you don't have, you know, there's a million reasons why we can't do things. But actually it's just listening it, it's just acknowledging it. And as Carol already said, maybe just journaling it down, having a way to capture the things that you notice, just without judging them. And then start to weave some of that stuff into your self-care as the opportunities start to come up. But just noticing what really speaks to you, what's really you, is so, so powerful. So, you know, it's about picking something that would really and truly give you pleasure, and just starting to weave that in little pieces, little steps, because that is all part of self-care. You know, self-care is not just, I must go to bed on time, you know, I mustn't ever have snacks in between meals. That's not just self-care. Self-care is also about really taking notice of what it is that you really need, really listening to your own needs, and not kind of swiping them off to the side or judging them or condemning them, but just being open to them, and then starting to kind of weave them into your life, in, you know, in simple practical steps to start with, and perhaps planning those steps a little bit so that you can start to kind of up your game. So in terms of self-care, who's got a self-care project on the drawing board at the moment? Who's got things that they're actively working on at the moment? So Carol's saying she's going to volunteer working with people with dementia. Okay, so that's very challenging. So, but it's, you know, if that's your vision for you, or one of the things that you think will light you up, Carol, then it's really important that you go and explore that, isn't it? So that's really great. So who's got sort of other self-care projects on the drawing board at the moment? And is anybody surprised to hear me talk that self-care is more than just, you know, I think I said when I was telling people about this, it's self-care is more than bubble baths. And maybe now that you can see what I was talking about when I said that. Okay, lovely. So has anybody got any particular self-care projects that they are kind of working with at the moment, or that they would like to do? Or Karen saying, I'm getting a craft group off the ground with friends. That sounds amazing. And Tina saying, I'm getting my morning routine going. Oh, that's a really powerful one, isn't it? Yeah. I think there's lots and lots of good stuff about morning routines and how, I think you hear people say things that you like, how you start your day is how the rest of the day goes, and then that's how the rest of the week goes, and so on. So yeah, and it's finding what works for you, isn't it? Because I know some of the morning routine kind of gurus out there, they talk about, oh, we've got to get up by 5 a.m, and you go, okay, well, who says, really, that might be their experience, but you've got to do what's the right thing for you. So it's about that noticing and that listening again. That's great. And Karen saying, I'm setting up a craft group off the ground with friends. So that's lovely, isn't it? That kind of social sharing and community. And again, it's about the vision for what really gives you pleasure. It's so, so important. So Ava saying, I don't have a project, but I sort of do it permanently while still supporting other people, right? Okay, so and it sounds like you're pretty clear out about what gives you pleasure and what you enjoy spending your time on, and how much you kind of give out to other people versus how much you need to keep back for yourself. I think that's really, really important. And Carol is saying, yes, I don't have a routine. Carol, are you responding to Tina's comment about the morning routine? Fine, good. So self-care projects, they can start off very simply. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but it's important that it's something that's going to really, that is something that's in line with your vision for what you'd really love for yourself. But it's fine to start with small steps, because it's small steps done consistently that's actually what's going to get you the results and get you through things. Cool. So has anybody else got any questions about self-care or things about looking after yourself that you have either struggled with or found hard, or anything at all? Okay, so I think we've been talking for about an hour, which is quite a nice long time, isn't it? So I think we'll probably wrap up there and let you all get on with your evenings. But thank you to everybody who has attended live. I'm so grateful to you for your time, for your comments, for your contributions. It's really lovely. Please do feel free to invite other people into this group, the Dr. Margaret Clinic group, so that they too can take part in these live events. I think it's really lovely to kind of for us to be growing a community that's around sort of empowered health and about really kind of helping ourselves to be the best we can be, really. If anybody has found that as a result of today lots of stuff has come up that you've been too shy to say, you can always message me. I do offer kind of 15-20 minute telephone calls to people who are thinking that they might want to some help, or they're not sure if this kind of work is for them or whatever. So that's all there if you would like it. So everyone saying thank you, Tina saying thank you, you're so welcome. So so do come and join me for the lovely hydration challenge. That's the link in there. I would love for lots of us to be in there together and be traveling that road together for 5 days. I haven't quite decided exactly what sort of format it will be, but probably we'll do a couple of live sessions like this and really kind of dive deep into the super hydration practices, what will really serve you well, why it makes a difference to your health, and so on. And on the grounds, I'm a big believer, do the simple things well and really max them out to get the benefits. So if that's something that speaks to you and you would like to have a go with that, come and join me. I would love that. So that is everything for this evening. Thank you all so much, and I hope to speak to you again really soon. Take care. Bye.